guy you speak to the left, why can't that be his name?
Who, Alan?
Isn't that sad? Yeah.
You know, he works at the Apple store out in Vegas.
Have you seen that dome they have out there? That's all like LED. It's all mixed here.
Oh, really?
It's a dome that has LEDs all around. It's in the images in the paper. It's a super expensive dome. It's such a Vegas thing.
It's such a thing.
But it's also really cool.
Yeah, we got it.
What's her name? Who is it?
Sharon.
Sharon, no, she's not here.
Sharon is in
No.
Florence.
Oh, sure.
Okay. All right, everybody ready? Staff, you're prepared? Okay. All right, it's 7:30 according to the MacBook here, so as we know that Apple products are great for their timeliness, so we'll go, infallible, right? So we'll go ahead and we'll proceed. So welcome everybody to this meeting of the Village of Skokie Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals is created by the statutes of the state of Illinois and by the ordinances of the Village of Skokie for the purpose of granting proper case relief from the strict terms of our zoning ordinances. The decision of this board to either grant or deny relief will be based upon the evidence presented to it and how that evidence is related to the standards for granting relief. All persons who have an interest in the case, either as a petitioner or as a member of the public, either supporting or opposing the petition, or as an independent witness, will be given a chance to speak on the record and to express his or her points of view. The Zoning Board of Appeals is not a court of law, and therefore we do not follow the strict rules of evidence. However, this hearing will be conducted in such a manner as to hear only competent evidence or statements. Questions as to procedure, interpretation, and of the admissibility of statements or evidence will be ruled upon by Corporation Counsel Collard Kobilski, that's easy for me to say, and his legal decisions will be binding upon this board. Certain cases require covenant running with the land. This will be prepared and recorded by the Village of Skokie Legal Department, and this is done at the petitioner's expense. Whether or not a covenant is required is a determination to be made by the Corporation Counsel at the conclusion of each individual case. If a covenant running with the land is required, it cannot or will not be prepared until our court reporter has returned to the Zoning Board of Appeals a transcript of these proceedings. The Village of Skokie will notify each petitioner when the covenant has been prepared and is ready for signature. No building permits or certificates of occupancy can be issued until the covenant is signed by the petitioner. Should a petition for variation be denied, or should a covenant not be required, the Board of Trustees will authorize a refund of any required fees. Should it be necessary for the petitioner to request a continuance due to lack of preparation, a case continuation fee of 1/2 of the original application fee is due prior to the rehearing date. This request must be made before any testimony begins. All petitioners must receive a vote of the majority of the zoning board present in order to decide any matter under consideration. Our full complement is 9 members. However, tonight's complement is 7 members, making 4 votes necessary to make a determination on a petition. Okay, and tonight we have one case, which is 2023-03Z, 4801 Gulf Road. And in this matter, I will ask Corporation Counsel, has proper notice been served and notarized?
Yes, no, this is proper and correct.
All right, very good. So that's great. Before we hear our meeting, before we hear our case tonight, a little housekeeping to do first, and that's the approval of our minutes from our last meeting from October 18th. Before I do that, let me call the roll real quick so we know exactly who is here and who isn't, since we do not have a full complement. Commissioner Salvi? Here. All right. Commissioner Putras?
Here.
All right. Commissioner Kirkpatrick, I believe, is absent. Commissioner Jacobson?
Here.
Commissioner Perlin?
Here.
Commissioner Worth?
Here.
Commissioner Arden, I believe, is absent. Commissioner Pollock?
Here.
And the chair is here, or else we wouldn't know who's be talking into the microphone right now. So great, thank you very much, everyone. And if everybody's had a chance to review our minutes from the October 18th meeting, we're where we heard case 2023-02Z, 4233 Main Street, which was granted with conditions. If everybody, if I'd like to make I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to
All
approve
right.
the minutes.
Commissioner Jacobson, thank you very much. May I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Perlin. Okay, all in favor, just a simple voice vote, please. Aye?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody not approve the minutes? No? Okay, great, unanimous, thank you. Thanks as always, Marlene.
Okay.
All right, good. Okay, now we can go ahead and, now we've taken care of that, we'll go ahead and get it to the order of business tonight. So if the petitioner would like to step up to the podium, we'll go ahead and have the presentation of 2023-03Z, which will be done by Commissioner Israel Pollock. Israel, the floor is yours.
Sure. Just again to start with the legal notice in case 2023-03Z, 481 Gulf Road, 12427 FT Orchard LLC on behalf of Status Unlimited and their permit expediter Expedite the Deal requests a sign variation in order to establish a second signable area on the east facade of the building rather than the one allowable signable area per facade as required by section 82.2 of the Skokie Village zoning code in a B2 commercial district. I'll just read the petitioner's statement before we hear directly. Chapter 82, section 82-28B1A. Only one wall sign facing a street frontage on which it is located shall be permitted per occupancy. The applicant is seeking a wall sign for the east-facing wall where one wall sign already exists. This is a multi-tenant building where the tenants are vertical and not horizontal. Chapter 82, section 81-28B3, location of a wall sign. The applicant is seeking to place a wall sign at the second story on the north-facing wall. In order to be granted a variance, the petitioner has to request and it has to be consistent with the following findings, and I'll just intersperse their responses here. There's a limitation on the use of the property due to physical, topographical, and geological features. For this prompt, the petitioner responded, this is an existing structure on an existing retail multi-tenant lot. The bank is a freestanding building. The previous tenants had signs in the locations that this bank proposes to place signs. The previous tenants were also banks. Second condition, without a variance, there can be no reasonable use of the property. Petitioner responded, adequate branding for the bank that is consistent with what the BMO customers expect is important. This is designed to eliminate branding confusion. Third prong, the request is not based solely on economic reasons. The petitioner responded, this request is not based on economic reasons. The request is based on a need for adequate signage to identify a financial institution at a major intersection. The signs are more for motorists to locate their destination and identify the presence of a bank. Fourth prong, the property owner did not create the necessity for the variance. Petitioner responded, this is an existing retail property. The previous bank is no longer in the location. BMO will occupy this retail space. The previous bank had additional wall signage at this location in the same locations on the building that BMO has proposed. Property owner didn't create the necessity for the variance. The unique conditions of a retail shopping center with multiple tenants and outparcels or multiple structures in a shopping center creates a unique environment that calls for additional signage. Fifth prong, the request is the minimum variance necessary to allow reasonable use of the property. Petitioner responded, the request is the minimum amount necessary for the bank to be clearly identified at this location. The wall signage proposes that the same as what was previously in place for the bank that existed here before. This is a corner property and there are multiple entries to the lot as well as street frontages. The building can be seen from various vantage points and adequate signage must be in place for banking customers to feel safe and readily identify their destination when traveling at posted speed limits. Next prong, the request will not be injurious to public health, safety, or welfare. Petitioner responded, the request will not injure the public health, safety, or welfare. These types of signs exist here. However, the lack of signage that is legible and visible from all corners of the intersection will create a traffic hazard and the potential for motorist confusion. It is imperative that the signs be legible and the drivers be able to see this location while traveling at posted speed limits to avoid public injury or safety hazards. And finally, the subject site possesses one or more unique characteristics generally not applicable to similarly situated properties. Petitioner responded in July of 2019, this was Fifth Third Bank. November of 2018, this was MB Financial. Both of those banks had signage at the top of the building. On the Golf Road elevation, moving the sign to the bank drive-through canopy will make that sign not legible or visible from the roadways. The trees will block that sign facing Golf Road if it's brought down to the first floor level. The absence of a monument sign at the corner makes this location difficult to be identified. The Skokie Boulevard sign will not be at the top of the building because of the Med Spa sign. The existing ground sign is a multi-tenant sign that is not visible from this vantage point either. The position of the wall signs is essential to the safe travel of motorists seeking this destination. Just move to the staff report. Again, the site information, this building was constructed around 1997. There's been a number of retail bank tenants in there in the years since. The petitioner is requesting a variation to add a second signable area on the east facade of the building rather than the one signable area that is allowed per code. The Appearance Commission approved the petitioner's request at its August 2023 meeting. The staff analysis. Staff comment and review sheets were sent to all pertinent departments. The Community Development Department was the only department to comment. They said the following: after reviewing the application and the sign code, it was determined that only one variation was required, not two. Based on the sign packet submitted, the only variation required is for two signable areas on the east facade of the building. Signable area is defined as a designated area of the facade of a building, the boundaries of which shall form a square, rectangle, or other Appearance Commission approved shape, which is free of windows, doors, and all major architectural details. Only one signable area may be established for a facade of a building. In no event shall the signable area of the building exceed in square footage 1/3 of the square footage of any facade of the building. The tenant appears not have signs in multiple locations on the side of a building. This is similar to having one ground sign with multiple tenant names on it instead of each tenant having their own ground sign in a multi-tenant building. The applicant is proposing to add a new BMO sign on the east facade of the building below the windows. The new sign is clearly separated by windows, therefore resulting in a second signable area. In this case, staff feels the applicant most likely could add their sign next to the Pure Medical Spa sign. If the BMO sign was next to the Pure Medical Spa sign above the windows, it would result in one signable area and would be permitted by right. The tenant is also proposing a BMO sign on the north facade that is code compliant and is higher up on the wall. The BMO sign on the east facade will be located on the first floor level and at a different plane than the proposed sign on the north facade. The request does not appear to be for consistent BMO signage to be located only on the first floor side of the building. Okay.
You good?
That's the story we got.
Okay, that's good. All right, great. Thank you so much. Good evening.
Good evening, my name is Tracy Deal, Traceydehl.
Hi, Tracy.
My address is 6487 Hilliard Drive, Canal, Winchester, Ohio, and I represent BMO Bank, the property owner, and Stratus.
Well, you
All
came,
three.
you came all the way out here from Ohio to.
Yeah.
Wow, that's some dedication.
My husband's retired military, and he chauffeurs
Oh.
me wherever I ask him to take me.
Wow, awesome.
But
All
I
right.
actually like coming here, so we got to have Maggiano's while we were here, so we're happy.
That's great. Well, Ms. Deal, could you please tell us why we're all here tonight?
Well, yeah, I first want to comment, there's a lot of confusion right now.
Yeah.
To
Oh.
clear up
Yeah,
yes.
I'm sorry. Let me interrupt you. Corporation. Oh,
Well, she's a lawyer,
Are you a lawyer?
No, I'm not.
so it's,
I'm the
Okay.
agent for the applicant.
all right. No worries. In that case, I forgot to do something, which is to swear you in, exactly. Which, of course, the lawyer reminded me of that, being the good man that he is. Do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge or belief?
I do.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead,
That's
please,
okay. I
please
actually
proceed.
want to clear something up. The documents that were read for you with the responsory statements were because we thought we were submitting for two variances. Upon review of the variance application, staff determined that there is one variance, which I know was stated, but I wanted to make sure that that is crystal clear because some of those responsory statements are not necessarily applicable to the sign that we're talking about
Mhm.
today. BMO Bank is attempting to occupy this space. They've already put up some of their signs, their by right signs. At one point, they were trying to figure out how to brand this elevation. This is the Skokie Boulevard elevation. So it is for, identification of that elevation for pedestrians. It's more for identification for emergency services, like I previously said, and to identify that this is BMO space. They're not exceeding their sign allowance in square footage. They're just asking for you to allow them to have a signable area because of the unique characteristics that exist here. I am happy to answer any questions that you might have. I could go over the criteria as it pertains to this sign if you would like me to. I'll do whatever you need me to do.
All right, well, no, that's great, and well done on the presentation. You've stated your case pretty strongly. But that being said, since this is Commissioner Pollock's presentation, I'd like to get his impressions on your request.
Yeah, thank you again. Thank you for making the trip all the way here. Yeah, I also kind of drove past the spot. I Google mapped it and saw that there were those trees there, kind of blocking it from the, if you're on Skokie Boulevard. I guess, you know, we always try to make things work if we can for petitioners who have taken the time and effort to invest in our village. Has there, I mean, maybe just in your experience, like moving a sign is, I'm assuming that's really costly, like even if
It's
Pure would be
costly,
on.
and then you could also come into a situation where behind the facade, there may not be appropriate conditions for them to get illumination to that sign.
Okay.
It really becomes, especially in a case like this, because it's not a false wall, this is an actual wall,
Got it.
which would require them to go into Pure Medical Spa's location to get access to that, which would disrupt their business. And then also you have to take into account that this particular bank space has been occupied by multiple banks that have been unsuccessful here.
Right.
So BMO is really taking a leap to try to make a successful operation in this location and avoid the need to vacate the space in the future. They're trying to make sure that they're highly branded at this location so that it is successful.
Got it. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Are there, Commissioner Solovey?
I have a question. Is that sign gonna be, are your signs gonna be illuminated at night?
Yes, the illumination will comply with the code requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Does anybody, Commissioner Perlin, you were
Yeah,
moving your mic down there.
Right, that's the signal. I just wanted to make a comment, and Tracy, I think you touched on this. With respect to sign rules, the situations in which signs are put up vary widely. And I think it's true that a lot of these rules were set for strip malls and places like that. So in the context of the situation we're talking about here, I think it makes the most sense to do what you're proposing to do, even though it goes against actual rules. That's the tricky thing about the sign rules here, is they're very, very specific, but the situations we encounter vary widely.
And I can appreciate that. I often tell my clients that boards like yours are in place to determine whether there are peculiar situations. It's very difficult with retail tenants to determine what really is a branding opportunity or an opportunity to draw in more business, or what is for the betterment of the community. But within the criteria, there is a question about economic advantage, and there are questions about, things that are unique. So because this is a unique situation, I racked my brain over and over and over again how I, as a professional who does this, nationwide, could get behind the idea of saying, okay, well, they really need a second sign here. And the only thing that I can come up with, which is very clear, is that if these tenants were side by side, we wouldn't be here tonight. But because these tenants are stacked, we have to make a decision on what to do. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, and it makes sense to me. Boy, the feedback on this mic is really something. And actually, I just wanted to say something as well, and Commissioner Perlin really nailed it on the head as to, what the objective of the Zoning Board of Appeals is. And in your case, I think, is a perfect example. But this sign is actually, and I think you mentioned it, is actually wayfinding in nature. I mean, not only is
Very
it,
small.
not only is it corporate branding, but, and it's not egregiously huge. in comparison to the med spa sign, I think it's actually smaller, you know, in far as letter height is concerned and
12
whatnot.
inches.
Yeah, so it's wayfinding in nature, it's appropriate being that it delineates the, like you said, the med spa's on the second floor, BMO's on the first floor. And not only that, but like you said, who would bear the expense of having the sign moved over so that BMO could, you know, be positioned correctly in the signable area along with the med spa and then have them centered in that area? And I mean, who's gonna pay for that? That in itself, I think, is a financial hardship for whoever would have to bear the costs of having those signs moved.
Well, and it's not just having them moved, the facade would have to be restored.
Yeah, right.
So whatever discoloration has
Right.
occurred to the sign from the Pure Medical being there, all of those letters would have to be moved, the whole facade would have to be restored.
Right,
And that's where the expense really comes in as well.
yeah, absolutely, so.
But most boards don't typically care about that, so I appreciate your willingness to be reasonable to understand that
Well,
moving a sign creates a hardship in its own.
Well, that's exactly it, and that's one of the considerations that we have to make as well is if the petitioner has to follow the ordinances that we have set out for stuff like this, is it gonna be a fiscal burden to them unrealistically, you know? So, and I think in this instance, it certainly is. So, that being said,
Question here, so.
yeah, Commissioner Worth.
Thank you. You don't want the sign up top, offset to the side? You think that would be suboptimal, or?
I think that it would be very confusing.
Yeah.
I think it would be like saying Pure Medical Spa, BMO Bank. I mean, I think it would be very confusing to people, especially people that aren't familiar with the location. And being that this is the suburb of Chicago, you have lots of transient guests that visit this area. So, and BMO is a national bank. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. We just recently did a conversion project in California. So it is a very wide-reaching bank. I think putting a sign at the top of the building can be very confusing when it's beside another sign. It looks like it's like you're naming a stadium where you put, you know, Verizon Stadium. It's confusing. But also, we went to the ARC and the ARC approved this design. They didn't mention an alternative design, so I think that they too probably thought, I would speculate, that it was confusing as well.
Yeah, and I know, Brian, we've had some other ones that were involving signs and potentially some upcoming facade improvement programs or anything like that. I think the one on Main Street with that freestanding sign, which is obviously different. But is there any similar concerns of any upcoming facade improvements around here that might conflict with this, or is that more Main Street?
Do you remember which address?
It was the last case where they had a freestanding sign in the parking lot.
The old 7 Gallery
Yeah.
that they were
Oh,
gonna
that-
convert into the dental
Yeah.
clinic.
That might be specific with a Main Street
Got it.
Main Street like improvement plan
Right.
where they might make specific recommendations for that corridor.
Got it.
This is, after review, again, it is determined, we read through everything, that it was only the one variation.
Okay.
The Appearance Commission did have no issues with this, but yes, different situations
Got
that might be a corridor, a corridor improvement plan specific to that location.
Thank you.
And it's something else that we always have to deal with too, is we have to judge each individual case on its unique merits. So, there's no one size fits all when it comes to stuff like this. So, any other questions for the petitioner? Ms. Deal, is there anything else you'd like to close up with on this?
I'm done, thank you.
You're done? All right.
I don't really have anything else to say. I could beat a dead horse like anybody else, but there's no reason to take up any more of your time. Thank you.
All right, well, yeah, thank you very much. Well, if there's nothing else, then the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I propose following the granting of a variance to the petitioner as follows. The 12427 FT Orchard LLC is the owner of the lot described in case number 2023-03Z-1 4801 Gulf Road for the property located at 4101 Gulf Road, Skokie, Cook County, Illinois. That a determination has been made in which the petitioner's request is consistent with the majority of the findings of fact as stated in the Village of Skokie zoning chapter. I therefore propose that a variance be granted to the petitioner, forgiving failure to comply with the requirements of the zoning ordinance of the Village of Skokie as amended, as to establishing a second signable area on the east facade of the building. That the petitioner be granted the variance to have this second signable area as proposed in their statement and
Mhm.
as evidenced by their depictions and as approved by the Appearance Commission. That all other codes and ordinances of the Village of Skokie shall be fully and strictly complied with.
Okay. So, that adequate, Corporation Counsel?
It's good enough for me.
All right, if it's good enough for Corporation Counsel, it's good enough for me. All right, so we have a motion to approve, without conditions. Do I hear a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second it.
Okay, Commissioner Salovey will second. Let's see, so the chair will go ahead and call the roll. Commissioner Salovey,
Yes.
Commissioner Putras,
Yes.
okay, Commissioner Kirkpatrick is absent. Commissioner Jacobson,
Yes.
Commissioner Perlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Worth,
Yes.
Commissioner Arden is absent. Commissioner Pollak,
Yes?
and the chair will vote aye. Okay, so in the case of 2023-03Z, the request has been approved unanimously. And Corporation Counsel will tell you what you need to know from here on out.
There's no covenant in this case, so I would defer to Brian as to when a building permit can be issued.
Yeah, was this,
We'll work with the
Spec-
permits.
yeah, was this specific permit applied for yet?
I'm not really sure, but I'll double check when I get back to my office.
If not, then you
we'll
can,
get it
you could
submitted.
apply for a permit tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I would also like to go on record and thank Brian and his office, now that you've voted, for working with us extensively on this site. On behalf of BMO and the property owner, I know that his office has done more reviews of this particular site for many reasons than I can imagine, lengthy reviews from his office, and we genuinely appreciate the work that he has put into this project, so thank you.
Yeah,
And we're not surprised to hear that. Brian's office does a terrific job.
Yeah, they've done, I
Yeah.
mean, my office gives them a really hard time, but they've done a really good job.
that's one thing that, and I've said this many times in public in these forums, that we think the world of our staff. They're extremely professional, highly knowledgeable, very responsive, and it's a pleasure working with them, quite frankly.
I used to work for city government. I actually got my start in this industry. I was an assistant to a building official. So the military moved us, and every time they moved us, I had to keep recreating myself, and that's how I landed where I am. So I try to always have the most respect for city staff, because I recognize that they have a code to uphold and that that's their job. And I recognize that when we have to go beyond that code, that they're limited to the code. And my customers don't recognize that. So they harass them, and I have to apologize for that because I know that civilians do not understand that at all.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Brian.
All right.
Have a good evening. Thank
All right,
you
Ms.
all.
Neal, enjoy
Happy
your stay in
Thanksgiving.
the Chicago area before you
Thank
go
you.
back home to Ohio.
Thank you.
All right, you
Have
take
a
care.
good evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, that's good. Do we have any old business? I don't think so. I don't think there's gonna be any public comment because the petitioner was the only one in the room. So, if there's anything else anybody has to say, again, I'd like to welcome David Putras to his first meeting.
Thank you.
All right, and,
Future
The-
meetings?
pardon me?
Future meetings?
I was just gonna ask that. I see that we have the cancellation of the December sixth meeting.
December 6th is canceled, and due to the fact of Hanukkah falling the week of the 11th, so the Appearance Commission meeting was moved to the December 20th,
Okay.
and we outright just canceled the December 20th meeting. So no meeting in December,
Yeah.
potentially a couple cases coming up in January.
Okay, so we won't, okay, so no meetings at all in December then?
Correct.
All right. Well, that being said, a happy holiday to each and every one. And, let's look forward to a happy and healthy 2024. And that all being said, This meeting of the Village of Skokie Zoning Board of Appeals is adjourned.